our voices were heard. The blue collar workers came out, the rank and file. The blue collar steel workers came out and voted for Trump. And our union, the United States Union, they endorsed Kamala Harris. And I think she was the worst candidate.
The two men you see in this interview are part of the U.S. steel industry. I think they're actual workers in the U.S. Steel, and they're part of the Steel Workers Union. And even though the larger U.S. Steel supported Kamala Harris, the workers, like the guy said, supported Donald Trump. I, too, consider myself the average working man. Yes, I'm not out there doing back-breaking labor. I'm not using my hands. I'm not using my hands anymore. For a good 16 years of my life, I used my body to work. And to be honest, I was actually working when I was 8 years old. Shout out to my uncle who put me and my brothers on a roof in his construction business. And I did that from 8 to 16. And from 16 to 19, I did other small jobs before I went to the Marine Corps. So just giving you full context. But I gave my body and my mind to the Marine Corps because the Marine Corps' mission was to protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And even in that capacity, I was not kicking down doors and having steel rain come at me. And now I'm in a better position, and I thank God for that I'm able now to try to use my mind to earn a living for my family. The little bit I got left, the Marine Corps took a lot. So I got a general understanding of what it is to be the average working man trying your best to do right for your family. And you're thinking about the kitchen table issues. And that's what Democrats got away from because we're always trying to sound cerebral and appeal to your logic. When most people are saying, F logic, what about my pocket? And you're going to feel that in the next comment when the Fox host asks this question.
Again, you guys put your faith in Donald Trump. You gave him your vote. I know you guys have not worked for him as well. What does he have to do to deliver, to make good on the votes that you all gave him?
Just the reassurance in years to come for the steel industry. You know, he'll get the tariffs on and stuff. And I think overall it'll just be better steel under his administration than what we have right now.
Do you think either of those men in that interview give a damn about anything else other than keeping their job and providing for their families? They don't give a damn about nothing else but what's going on in their houses. And I totally understand it because I too think about what's going on in my pockets, to hell with anybody else. But also, most people may think they're using their minds when they're really not. But there are times where you really got to look and see who is going to also be there for you and the country as a whole to lift all boats and not just a few people. And I don't think either of these men and a lot of other Americans who voted for Trump were thinking on the larger context. And this is what I'm talking about.
President-elect Donald Trump says he will block the proposed acquisition of U.S. Steel by Japanese company Nippon Steel. The $15 billion deal has faced bipartisan pushback since it was announced last December. Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform late Monday, "I am totally against the one great and powerful U.S. Steel being bought by a foreign company through a series of tax incentives and tariffs. We will make U.S. Steel strong and great again."
Do you see that headline? Yes. Steel workers feel like they got a gut punch after listening to Trump say that. Now, mind you, the man is not in office yet, so he may change his mind. He may be just blustering. But still, people are afraid of what this man is trying to do. Now, they go on in that interview. There's a smart young lady that explains all of this. That $15 billion deal would have helped U.S. Steel. They also explain in a larger context, you don't want a foreign company owning such a strategic industry like U.S. Steel because, again, going back to history, Japan, one of the reasons why Japan attacked Pearl Harbor is because we blocked them from our oil, which is what they needed for their country. It's a long story. I can go into it. I love it. I think she mentioned it because it was a bipartisan, we don't like this deal because of that reason. But what did the Biden administration do?
President Biden also says he opposes the merger. However, the White House gave the companies a 3-month window to convince the federal government that the deal is best for everyone. That window closes later this month.
The Biden administration said, we gonna block this. We don't want this because of, strategic importance and because we don't want another country being in control of our steel. If Japan, who's an ally, becomes an enemy, they control our steel. Totally understandable. But he said, look, I will let the deal go through if you can show the U.S. government that this deal is beneficial not only to the powers that be, but to everybody involved, to include the steel workers, to include those 2 men in that interview, to include everybody in the pipeline that deal with steel. Because it's not just steel, it's the people that make the factories, it's the nuts and bolts and screws, it's the whole thing. Show us that this is a good deal for everybody involved, to include those workers, and we will let this deal go through. But that reprieve ends this month. And what do you think Kamala Harris would have did going into the next administration? And Trump goes out there and say, the hell with all of that y'all talking about, I'm just going to block the deal. But you voted for him. The lady goes further in the interview to say it's not just whether or not they should do the deal or not, because either way it go, U.S. Steel may no longer be. If they don't get someone to buy them out, they may go bankrupt. If they get somebody to buy them out, they are bought out. So U.S. Steel is dead regardless. But at least if you had a chance to try to renegotiate with the government and try to make sure that you keep your job, wouldn't you vote for the administration that was going to do that? You voted for Trump, who is going to take your job. You voted to get your job taken from you. And guess what? He put tariffs on steel in the last administration. And what did you do? Read it below. Pause it if you have to. Don't worry about it. I got you, because again, MAGA can be slow. I'll read it for you. Trump's steel tariffs raised prices, shriveled up demand, led to job losses, some Michigan workers say. And the quote down there says, I don't see any policy that helped us. We are losing our damn jobs here, said the head of the Steel Workers Union. That was them in 2020. But why you saying the powers that be supported Kamala Harris because Biden and Harris was supporting the steel workers took their ass out there and voted for Trump. And again, all of this is conjecture. All of this is innuendo and assumptions, because I don't know what he's going to do come January 20th, but I will hold him accountable come January 20th at 12:01. He will become president. So if anything like this goes down in a bad way to where steel workers lose their job, you voted for your own demise. You cut your nose off to spite your face because for whatever reason, you didn't want to vote for a Democrat. You didn't want to vote for a woman, and you didn't want to vote for a woman of color. You thought you were thinking about your pockets when what you really did was base your decision purely on emotion. What do you think?